Every town has an Elm Street, and we've all heard of A Nightmare on Elm Street. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably a scarred, Christmas sweater-wearing, blade-fingered demon. But Freddy Krueger lives in your dreams. Gerald Cruz is real, and in Salida, California, he turned nightmares into reality. I'm Marina. With me, I have my best friend Laura, and this is Grim.
Wow. That was, I didn't like that. I like physically had to move away.
I haven't seen Nightmare on Elm Street in forever, but I looked up Freddy Krueger again, and it really is a Christmas sweater.
I'm going to have to look at that.
The vivid or vibrant? Vibrant, red and green.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm very tired, so words are going to be hard.
I was very tired, and then I just housed like half of the candy sitting on Marina's table right now.
Yeah, so. Auntie Laura was just checking my kids' candy for razor blades, and it's all clear.
It's all good.
Everything she ate was all clear.
Everything's good. Let me... Is it staticky in here?
So Laura's on a sugar high now, and I'm not. So.
And I'm not reading the case, so this is good.
No, that's good.
Oh, boy.
Drink a Celsius, but I'll be up until Friday, so I'm not going to do that.
Spoiler, it's Tuesday.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so we're 2 weeks beyond Halloween, but I researched and wrote this case right around Halloween, so it's still Halloween in my mind.
Hence the candy, by the way.
Yes. Oh, yeah, true. It's only been a week, less than a week. Anyways, for this case, I watched the investigation discovery documentary called The Real Murders on Elm Street.
Love investigation discovery.
Yeah, no Freddy Krueger in this case, but it's equally bloody. I also read court documents and an article from Oxygen.
Oh, I know the gremlins are with me when we are drooling that you read court documents.
Oh, there were so many court documents. So many. I recommend that series, The Real Murders on Elm Street. They had a few good ones, including Daniel LaPlante, who we covered in A Peabody.
Yes, I remember that. I thought you were going to recommend the court documents.
I don't think anybody wants to read those. All those. When I was doing appellate work and I couldn't fall asleep, I would read case law and would fall asleep with the paper on my face.
That's hysterical.
Every time.
Yep, that's fair.
Works every time. Before we dive into today's case, we have Patreon shout outs.
Woo, woo. Woo, woo.
Okay, and we're going to say sorry in advance to those whose names we have mispronounced, including Amelie.
Amelie, we love you. Thank you for correcting us. We love you.
Joni,
we love you. So sorry, we love you.
And Keenan,
we love you. Sorry, we are illiterate.
Although I think it was Keenan that was hilarious. And
how did you pronounce it? Oh, was that the one
we
where
were like Keenan? I don't
know.
I can't. Right. We can't recreate.
We can't read.
Specialness
is the real problem here.
It's true.
A problem. That's why you don't recommend the court documents. That makes no sense, but.
Okay.
We'll go with it.
I don't know
can't
how that
read,
got
can't
tied.
talk. Let's do a podcast.
How that tied back in. Anyways, Kaylee S.
Kaylee.
Woo, thank you so much, Kaylee.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Ailish A.
Ailish.
We love you.
We love you, Ailish.
Is that like Billie Eilish mispronounced?
Oh, damn. We probably did mispronounce it. Yep.
Eilish A? No, it starts with an A. Ailish A. Woo,
Ailish.
We love you. Emma M.
Emma M.
We love you so much. Thank you. Tori.
Woo.
We love you so much. Get out of my head. We love you so much. Danny Sparkplug.
Danny.
I didn't say Danny S, so I hope Sparkplug is not your last name.
Fair.
Danny, we love you so much.
Searches for Sparkplug go up.
Tony, we love you.
We love you.
Okay, Shara,
we love you so much.
Just in case, Shira or Shara. We love you too. I'm like so afraid of mispronouncing people's names.
You do tell us if you think we're going to mispronounce it, which the odds are very high of any name. You can tell us and we will read it. And
so the next person gave us a pronunciation key.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's Eva. Eva S.
We love you so much.
You're so good at that. Eva.
I love that movie so much.
I'm getting sick again, or like allergies. I think the leaves are trying to kill me again.
Yes.
So anyways, Nikki B.
Nikki B.
We love you so much. Thank you. Lexi J.
Lexi. We love you,
so
Lexi.
much.
Thank you so much.
Abby F.
Abby.
We love you. We love you so much.
We love you, Abby. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nat.
Nat.
We love you so much.
We love you, Nat.
Thank you. Guys,
Seriously,
we love you so much. Yeah, we love you. We love you a lot.
We love you so much.
I cannot even put into words how much we love you.
You should have had more candy, and then you could.
I should have. Yeah, there was no sugar in my dinner. That was my first mistake. Okay, so our story takes place on Elm Street in Salida, California, which is a farming town north of Modesto in central California.
A lot. I mean, California's a big state, but a lot of things happen. Bad things.
It's a really big state.
Yep.
Yeah. It's known for the orchards used to cultivate almonds for companies like Blue Diamond.
Okay. I like almond milk.
Which I bet you this is... I didn't know you could milk an almond. I bet you this is around... I'm going to forget the name of the show, so that's not going to help. The one with that guy. I can't remember.
Bad?
Nope. Can't remember the guy's name
Nevada,
either.
Isn't it?
Wow. It'll come to me. Oh my God, forget it.
Okay.
So in the very early morning hours of May 21st, 1990, the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department received a call from a man named Earl Creekmore. Earl told officers that he'd heard someone running next to his house and then heard a loud bang on his air conditioner. He went outside to investigate and found two men beating up a third man who was on his knees screaming, "Oh God, help me. No, stop, please don't." The two men were kicking the third man in the ribs and punching him in the back of the head. Earl said, "Hey, what's going on over there?" but got no response. He watched one of the two men go inside 5223 Elm Street briefly. The man came back out, straddled the man on the ground, and was slicing at his throat with something. Earl heard a gurgling sound and had seen enough. He turned to go inside, but when he looked back, he saw another man swinging a 2x4 over his head.
Bye.
Earl retreated to safety and had his roommate call 911. Earl wasn't the only one to call the sheriff's department that night. Kathy Moyers, who was visiting a friend who lived across the street from 5223 Elm Street, saw the same thing. She said 3 men were scuffling on the sidewalk and one man appeared drunk as he kept falling down. The man fell and was on his knees with the other 2 men standing over him when she heard him say, "Please don't, no please, and help me, stop." Kathy called the police. She saw the 2 men enter 5223 Elm Street, and a few minutes later, 4 individuals left the same house, all wearing dark clothing and ski masks.
Yikes.
They walked over the body on the sidewalk and headed toward the train tracks in town.
Brazen. I mean, I know it's not the middle of the day, but brazen.
Yep.
Yikes.
The sheriff's department responded to the house on Elm Street, thinking at first they were simply responding to an assault. But when they arrived, the scene was truly grim. Richard Talmadge Ritchie, who was identified by the ID in his pocket, was dead on the sidewalk in front of the house. Richard had been bludgeoned and his throat was cut. There was a bloody camouflage mask on the ground between his legs. The police really had no heads up as to what they would find inside the house. The electricity to the house had been cut off, so it was completely dark inside.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
The only illumination was coming from the officers' flashlights.
No, that is actually a horror movie. No.
Which revealed blood everywhere and 3 dead bodies.
Oh, my God.
The first deputies on the scene got spooked. One, yeah. One said that it felt like Freddy Krueger was going to come out of the closet. It was just one body after another in a very small house.
And like, I'm kind of I'm not making a joke about it, but like, it's scary to me because I'm thinking of horror movies, but like, they are possibly in legitimate danger.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
lives.
they don't know what's in the house.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but can you imagine pitch black and like the flashlight is just illuminating horror?
That's the problem, is I am imagining
horror.
Yeah.
The police found the body of Franklin Delano Raper in the kitchen, who had his ID on him. He had been beaten so badly that his head was misshapen and his teeth were loose. They also found the body of Dennis Ian Colwell, who was in the living room. He had been bludgeoned and had stab wounds and cuts to his neck.
Yikes.
There was a third body in the house, an unidentified female who was in the kitchen near Raper. She had also been bludgeoned, but notably, the wounds on her neck were so deep she had been nearly decapitated.
I can always tell it's going to be bad because you like grimace before you read the sentence. And I knew that one was going to be bad. Oh, that's awful.
My face gives it away.
It does.
Too bad it's not on video.
Yeah.
And it never will be.
Sorry.
Police taped off the scene and began searching the surrounding area. On the front lawn, police found a dark knit cap and another camouflage mask similar to the one that was near Richie. Police followed footprints to a nearby field where they found a metal baton, a bloody aluminum bat, and a K-bar knife near a knife sheath. The blood on these items were later tested and matched to the victims. And just so you know, a K-bar knife is one that has like, it almost has like that leather looking handle, and then it has like that sharp, super sharp tip.
It's a knife with a sharp tip?
Yeah.
No, I really can't. I can't imagine.
My description was spot on.
I'm sure.
That it is a blade with a handle. So, in case you weren't originally picturing
Listen and learn, gremlins.
Type of knife. Okay. I need a Celsius. By the way, Laura got me addicted to Celsius.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm an influencer.
Yep. Hashtag influence. Okay, so as you would expect, the police presence drew a large crowd around this crime scene. Among the bystanders and spectators was a woman who was visibly shaken. She walked up to an officer who was standing near the police tape, and she told him that she was in the house when everyone was murdered and that she escaped.
Oh.
Yep.
I'm trying to process this. Like, if you're her, you're like, is it safe enough to come up? Like, there's enough people and all that.
Yeah. So, very busy scene. Insane.
Yeah.
The woman identified herself as Donna Alvarez, who I would say was both unbelievably lucky and unlucky at the same time. She was lucky to be alive to tell the tale, but Donna was homeless and she was invited to stay at the Elm Street property for the first time that day.
Oh my God.
By Richard Ritchie. So she spent one night there and everyone was murdered. That's why I say lucky and unlucky.
Right.
That is just
yikes.
Bad fortune.
Well, I guess you're going to tell me, but the people who lived there, it's not like it was a bad place and someone within the house had murdered them. They just were the unfortunate recipients of the murder.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So that is truly unlucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now, so I read two versions of this. Both agree that Donna went to sleep in the back bedroom of the house that night around 8 p.m. One version was that Donna was woken up by a woman who said that she needed to get out of the bed that she was sleeping in because it was her sister's bed and that she needed to go to the living room.
Oh, that Donna had to get out. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And that she told her to go into the living room. And then both stories converge again at this point. Donna was still in the room when she heard screaming in the house and she knew that something bad was happening. She peeked out the door and she saw a man with a camouflage mask. He removed it briefly and she got a look at his face, but he saw her too.
Oh no. Oh no.
He held a gun up to her and demanded that she get into the living room. But before he could force her at gunpoint to the area where the others lost their lives, the man got distracted by something, which gave Donna the chance to run away.
Oh my God. Also, that would be me as a murderer because I am constantly distracted by things.
You're like, squirrel!
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
But oh my God, that's insane.
Yep. She ran into the garage and hid under a large pile of clothes until the house went silent.
Oh my God.
She then crawled out from her hiding spot, pushed open the garage door, and took off to a neighbor's house for help until the police came.
I also can't imagine, that feeling of running and not knowing if someone was watching you, going to catch you is actually the stuff of nightmares.
Yep.
But also hearing that scream, I have fortunately never heard that in real life outside of a movie or anything like that. And I just can't, I don't believe that. I don't think you could prepare for, not prepare, but like, I don't think you can imagine that sound.
I think it would genuinely make your blood run cold.
Yes.
Because I have been outside before when a Fisher cat starts screaming. And I don't know if you've heard one of those.
I sure have.
But it sounds like tiny children being murdered. And it is very spooky. Yeah. And I was like, should we call the police?
Exactly. Right.
And my husband was like, I'm pretty sure it's an animal.
Yeah.
But it was horrifying.
Pretty sure.
So yeah, but I was very scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the police were also approached at the crime scene by a woman who said that her daughter was unaccounted for.
Oh, no.
She was worried that she was the unidentified girl in the house, which was confirmed by the photo provided to the police. The final victim was identified as Darlene Emmy Paris. So now the police had the who, but the question was why. Given the scene, the police felt that this was not a robbery gone wrong, but an intentional massacre.
Yeah.
The absolute brutality of the murders was confirmed by the autopsies.
Oh no.
Dr. William Hazy performed the autopsies on the victims found in the home. Franklin Raper had the worst of the blunt force injuries. He suffered extensive and fatal head injuries by a blunt force instrument, most likely a baseball bat.
God.
The outline of his head and his facial features were distorted, and bone fragments had been driven deep into his brain.
Oh my God.
He had also been stabbed in the neck with his right carotid artery and larynx cut, and his left arm was broken. And Franklin Raper was 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighed 100 pounds.
Oh, so he's tiny.
He is,
oh my God,
rail thin.
So you have some murderer going at you with a baseball bat or whatever big thing. You don't stand a chance.
No.
Oh, poor guy.
No.
God.
Dennis had suffered a skull fracture, cut and stab wounds to his face, multiple stab wounds to his skull, stabbing and slicing wounds to his neck that cut his jugular vein, carotid artery, and larynx, and a slicing wound to his liver, stab wounds to his chest, and defensive wounds to his left hand.
Jeez.
I mean, very brutal.
I was going to say violent is an understatement, but so violent.
Yep. Emmy had suffered multiple contusions and lacerations of her scalp from a blunt force instrument, stab wounds to her neck and chest, and defensive hand wounds. She had a severed throat, a wound that cut her carotid vessels, jugular vein, and larynx and extended down to her spine.
Oh my God. She was the one that almost decapitated.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh.
Richard, who was the one found outside, had suffered stab wounds to his neck, back, abdomen, and liver, and multiple defensive wounds on his hands. There were slicing wounds of his heart and pulmonary artery that caused extensive hemorrhaging in his chest cavity. His jugular vein, windpipe, and carotid artery were cut, and these wounds also extended down to the cervical vertebrae.
Oof, gosh.
So, police are like, this is absolutely a horrific massacre.
Yeah, and well, it is, but it also sounds a little like panic murdering. Like it doesn't sound like, it's not like 500 stab wounds to the chest. Like
right.
Or
like
almost,
a quick slice to the throat.
Or a deep or whatever.
It's like chaotic.
Yes. And
interesting.
Like that's especially with Richie, like it's almost like, oh my God, he's like getting away or something. I don't know. That's just like the vibe.
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah. And you might be onto something there.
Well, we'll see.
Police needed to find out if there was anyone with enemies who would have a motive to kill them. They quickly identified an initial suspect who was connected to Franklin Raper. Franklin's daughter said he was a family man, but she knew that he was having issues with some locals. His daughter asked him to leave Salida for his safety, but he refused.
Oh, geez.
And his daughter knew that he had issues with a man at a local repair shop. That man was Greg Boynton. The automotive repair store was in Salida, and him and Franklin did in fact have beef.
Okay.
At some point, Franklin moved his trailer onto a vacant lot next to Boynton's business. Franklin and Boynton had an altercation in which Franklin spoke disrespectfully about Boynton's father, and then Boynton pushed Franklin down. Several days later, this was in 1989, Franklin and another man confronted Boynton, threatening to kill him, and then they spun donuts in the vacant lot until the car stalled. So then Boynton came over and beat the shit out of him with his father.
I had a confused look on my face because I was thinking spun sugar.
Oh no, car donuts.
I'm up to speed now.
It's that sugar.
Yep.
You got sugar on the brain.
It's the crash. I'm at the crash now. I peaked at the Patreon shout-outs, and now I'm on the way down.
All downhill from here.
Yep.
The detectives felt the shop owner was a good suspect, but they questioned him, and he had a good alibi.
Oh.
He was at home in bed at the time of the murders, and his family all confirmed it. Likely story.
I was going to say that. Is that a good alibi?
Likely story. My husband better support my alibi when I need one. Shit.
We were recording.
But it wasn't long before the police had a better suspect. After speaking to Franklin's son, they found out that Franklin was afraid of a man named Jason LaMarche. About 6 weeks before the murders, Franklin had asked his son if he could borrow a gun after Jason had taken Franklin's car, set it on fire, and threatened to kill him.
Oh, jeez.
So this sounds like a plausible suspect.
I would say so. More than beef there.
Yeah. More than car donuts.
Yes.
If you recall Donna Alvarez, the one who survived, she had seen one of the murderers' faces that night when they briefly pulled up the mask.
Yeah.
So the police thought she might be able to identify Jason LaMarche if that had been the guy.
Yep.
Police put together a lineup and showed it to Donna, and as soon as she saw Jason's photo, she started hysterically crying.
That gave me goosebumps.
The police began asking around about Jason. They spoke to a woman, Tanya Miller, who had also lived in 5223 Elm Street. Very lucky for her, she wasn't home the night of the murders, although come to find out there was more than luck involved there. We'll get to that.
Oh.
She knew Jason because her half-sister, Michelle Evans, was dating him. She said he hung with a bad group of people at an area in Salida called The Camp. The camp was actually an abandoned labor camp on about half an acre of land, and it was in fact home to some shady individuals. The people that lived at the camp called themselves The Cause, and the community was afraid of them. There were rumors about satanic rituals and sacrifices that went on at the camp, and it was protected by armed guards that walked around the perimeter.
What? Also, a half an acre? And you need armed guards?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Okay.
They're like, it might not be much, but it's honest work.
Real estate prices, you know?
Yeah. In California, half an acre is a ton. The police were like, this sounds like it's going to check out. This sounds good. In the early morning hours of May 21st, the detectives went to check out the camp themselves. When they pulled up to the camp, they noticed a clothesline with camouflage clothing hanging from it. On the back of the property was a small house from which a man approached the detectives. This man, Gerald Cruz, the leader of the Cause. That was the end of my sentence. I was like, where is this going? Nowhere. The end. You know, I do my best on these notes, okay? Detectives asked Gerald if he'd heard about the quadruple murders, and Gerald said he didn't know anything about it and hadn't heard anything.
Oh, the murders with those people in the house and the one guy outside? Yeah, no, I had no idea.
Yeah, the police thought that this was pretty sketchy since everyone in town was talking about it. But I read that, and I also think that's interesting because this was now like 3 o'clock in the morning. So who is up discussing all these murders? Unless you're in that neighborhood.
It was like the 1990 version of Whatever Town Talks, you know, the Facebook group. They were just doing the in-person version of that.
Yes.
In all seriousness.
So everybody knew about these quadruple murders except Gerald Cruz.
He wasn't on Facebook.
Nope, heard nothing about it.
Yeah.
While talking to Gerald, detectives noticed small specks on his shoes that looked like it could be blood. They asked Gerald if Jason LaMarche lived on the property, and he pointed to a trailer but said Jason wasn't home and Gerald didn't know where he was. Convenient. Detectives leave Gerald and go get a search warrant.
Yeah.
They return to the camp to execute the warrant, and they find illegal weapons, bomb-making materials, explosives, books on Satanism and astrology. But wait, there's more. There was a book kept by Gerald with a bunch of names next to bloody fingerprints.
Oh my God.
Police are like, sure.
Yeah.
In addition to this cult paraphernalia, detectives also found receipts for camouflage masks and the same type of knife that was used as the murder weapon.
The K-bar.
The sharp, pointy one with the handle.
Which, by the way, I looked up. It's just a knife. Like, there's not a weird shape to it or a unique thing, but it's
a murder knife.
It is very much a murder knife. Yeah.
Like, you look at it and you're like, somebody could definitely murder somebody with that type of knife.
It's got like some serration. It's serrated on the bottom.
If I had to guess, it's a hunting knife.
Well, yeah, probably.
I didn't do my research on the brand K-bar.
Killing.
It is for killing, you're right.
Hopefully not humans. The dead. What is it? The most dangerous game?
Oh, yeah.
That phrase
where they hunt humans.
Freaks me out.
Ooh.
Hate it. I hate it. Okay.
I saw something really funny, though, the other day. I think I sent it to you and Colby. And it was the Kardashians, and they were with the stars of Wicked. And they're getting an early screening of Wicked. And it was like, these kids are not going to know anything to do that's fun. They're going to end up hunting humans for sport because there's like nowhere to go. Like there's no, they're at the top.
Yep.
And they're like 12.
Yep.
Anyways, I digress.
It'll be the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Yeah.
I digress. So Gerald was arrested for
murder.
Not yet. But the detectives know at this point that they have the right group of people.
Yes.
They just had to figure out who was involved and how. So they actually arrested him first for possessing the explosives while they developed the evidence surrounding the murders. They were like, this is enough for now. We're good.
You should not be in the public.
No. Take him out of the circulation. Gerald claimed off the bat that he could not have committed the murders because he was out of town with a man named Richard Vieira and James David Beck. Police are like, thank you very much, and bring in Richard and James. And James goes by David.
Okay.
So I'm going to be calling him David. His name's James David Beck, but it's David.
Yep.
Police also brought in Michelle Evans, who was Tanya Miller's half-sister and Jason LaMarche's girlfriend. And then Richard Willie, who was also part of the cause.
Yep.
And the police interviewed all of these individuals. The only person the police were missing was Jason, who had fled the state after the murders went down.
Yeah.
He ended up driving to Oregon. And he was with a woman there, and he told her that he was involved on the murders on Elm Street that were being talked about, which I will never understand why people brag about things that get you put in jail.
Because they can't help themselves.
To people that you like don't know.
I know.
Like I would tell you if I committed a murder, but like I wouldn't go tell a stranger.
That's fair. I'd probably have been there with you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. You helped me with the body. Totally fine.
Exactly.
The woman got super freaked out, understandably, and she called the police, who sent out a SWAT team to take him from his hotel.
Good for her.
Yep.
Because in all seriousness, like sometimes that happens. You're like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
You're like, no way are you involved in that. But good for her for calling the police.
He must have been given like super sketch vibes.
Yeah.
Like she was like, I think that you're telling the truth here.
Yes.
And this, I want to picture the SWAT just like kicking down his door and taking him out.
Definitely.
I like that. It's a pleasing visual. Now, Jason's girlfriend, Michelle, who, mind you, straight up abandoned, he abandoned her when he took off to Oregon. He was like, bye. She was acting nervous and was avoiding questions during her interrogation. Yeah. She was good friends with David Beck, so the police decided to try an age-old tactic since they had him as well. They put David and Michelle in the same interview room and left them alone. As soon as they were gone, Michelle started whispering to David that she didn't tell him anything, and she didn't tell him that David was involved. And David was like, shut the fuck up. And she just wasn't getting the hint.
Oh, man.
And
that's so good.
I know. You would think it probably would work on me too, because I would just, like, I would need to speak words out of my mouth.
There's a reason we have a podcast. We are silence fillers. And I would die in an interrogation. Well, the talking, like what they want you to do, I would do, because I would just word vomit everything. And they'd be like, that was 7 contradictions in that sentence.
Yes.
So we got you. Thank you.
Yes. The air in an interview room must be so thick that you can move it to the side to step into it.
I would die. I couldn't do it. I'd be completely innocent. I'd be like, do you want me to just confess? Like, I can do that.
That's how they get false confessions.
Yeah. Oh, see Peter Riley.
Yes, correct.
Ugh. Sorry.
So the police figured out that Michelle and Richard Vieira were the weak links, and they broke them down, and those two were the ones that provided the information the police needed to piece together the whole crime and the background leading up to it, and all of it came back to Gerald Cruz and the cause. So let's talk about the cause and Gerald Cruz and the camp.
Okay. And I completely forgot we were doing a podcast. I was about ready to reach back into the candy bowl. Like, as I'm into this.
I want some popcorn.
And I just forgot that would be very annoying.
Do you want to take a candy break?
No. Okay. I will be up till 4 a.m. as it is.
You better not be, because I need a good night's sleep and our auras are connected. And I'm like, I slept like shit last night. And Laura's like, me too.
It's your fault. Yeah.
So don't fuck up my sleep tonight, because I'm not eating candy.
I had a lot of candy.
Okay. Well, take some Benadryl. Okay. So the camp, which housed the cause, was pretty much founded in late 1989 when Gerald, his girlfriend at the time, and his 2 small children moved into a studio apartment on the property. The cause was founded earlier, however, likely in 1985. Around the same time, I had the weirdest emphasis on that sentence.
I know you did. It's okay.
I had to acknowledge it because it made me sad.
And
anyways,
while you were doing that, I was stuck on, like, is it definitely a half acre? Because so far there's some trailers, there's camps, there's a house, and there's an apartment on this half acre.
It's probably one of those dusty properties that just has a bunch of crap on it.
I know. I was stuck on that while you were
They're all
taking a journey.
Very close together.
Yeah.
They're very close.
Okay.
Bonding. Around the same time, David and Richard moved into a large trailer in front of the studio apartment. They were actually just stacked on top of each other. Picture a junkyard.
From it, they could see the train station that was on the other end of the property behind the armed guards.
It's probably a compound,
I think so.
like just double wides and trailers and apartments and guards and clotheslines.
Barbed wire. I don't know.
There's some clotheslines in there, maybe. The men considered themselves to be survivalists of some sort, and they dressed in camouflage often to blend into their scenery, I'm sure.
I was going to say there's definitely a whole woods in there.
I'm happy. Sure. They also had an arsenal of at least 30 weapons that Gerald showed off to Jason when he joined the camp with Michelle.
Okay, that is legitimately scary because people are the scariest. And just thinking about people who are more than a little unhinged, having weapons and egging each other on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough when you have one person like that, but when you have multiple people, it's so scary to me because it just starts to seem normal to them and don't like it.
There was a second studio apartment filled with tinfoil hats.
On the half acre?
Yeah, okay. I'm kidding. There was not. But and Jason and Michelle stayed in a smaller trailer behind David and Richards. I will post a picture of the camp. Okay.
It's so you see. Okay, so it's legitimately a half acre. Like it's small.
There's a lot of buildings on the property.
Okay.
It's an abandoned labor camp. So if you think of almost like what a summer
that's
camp,
true.
if you think of what like a summer camp would look like, you got like a bunch of cabins put together, sort of,
Okay.
Okay. So just to get to know Gerald Cruz a little better, you're going to hate him. He was an absolute piece of shit. Absolute piece of shit. Separate and distinct from all the cult activity, Gerald was incredibly abusive to his then girlfriend, Jennifer. When she was 2 months pregnant with his child, he pushed her to the ground, kicked her in the stomach, and kicked her between the legs. She began bleeding and she fled to a shelter, and she was only gone a couple days because Gerald manipulated her back to the camp.
Oh my God.
This guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He would beat Jennifer with a cane or blunt object, and he often threatened to kill her. He used a stun gun on her, and on one occasion, he put a rifle in her mouth and asked, "Are you going to get your shit together, or are you going to die?"
Jesus.
He told Jennifer that the only way out of this relationship is when one of us dies.
The marriage?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I have to laugh because that is horrible. I'm still, that poor woman.
There is a big D and I don't mean Dallas. That's a song. I'm going to the big D and don't mean Dallas.
We cope in different ways.
We do. The little ditty helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't already hate him, Gerald also abused his infant daughter.
What the fuck?
He would hit her on the legs with a fly swatter or ruler. When his daughter was less than 6 months old, he punished her by placing her in a dark room, and he only allowed Jennifer to feed, hold, or change her every 6 hours.
Oh my God.
When Jennifer objected to this treatment, Jennifer was beaten.
Oh my God.
And when his infant daughter was less than a year old, he would suspend her in a halter in the middle of a device he called the rack and would attach to her legs mason jars filled with water. He would then make her cry so that her legs would go up and down with these jars weighing down her legs. Now, this stuff is all really fucked up, but I feel like it's relevant for you to really get to know what a piece of shit.
Depraved piece of shit.
Gerald is really fucked up.
Colleen Stan, who was the guy, his name? Because didn't he have the rack?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Why can't I think of his name?
I don't know, because we
brain
dismiss
doesn't
all
work
cases
now.
after we have written them. Yeah, but more importantly, I remembered Colleen.
You
She's
did.
the one to remember.
You did.
Yeah.
That's right. Fuck the perpetrator.
So fuck him.
Yeah.
But he had the rack.
He did have the rack. I don't remember his name. It'll come to me when I can't sleep tonight at 3 a.m. because you had sugar. He also gave their infant daughter what he called clappings, in which he would slap the back or the side of her head with his open hand, leaving bruises on the inside of her ears.
That it actually turns my stomach. If I bump into my son by accident and he just looks at me, he's fine. Then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I cannot fathom hurting a sweet, innocent being like that.
I know.
I can't think
it's
about that.
disgusting.
Oh God.
And this is the last one, but when the baby was learning to walk, he found it funny to ask if she wanted a clapping and watch her respond by falling to the ground and hiding her head between her hands.
I could throw up.
Yes.
Oh. So yes, we've determined he's depraved and a piece of shit.
Yep. And
to
this
say the least.
Garbage human is the one who runs the cause, which is a straight up cult.
Yep.
So the main characters were Gerald, David, Richard Vieira, Richard Willie, Jason LaMarche, and Michelle Evans.
Okay.
Those are the main characters.
I didn't remember anyone
Okay.
of that list.
Okay. Well, they're all involved.
Thank you. Okay.
And the police have them all. So that's the
good.
important
Yeah, okay,
part
that
of
is
it.
good. Yep.
Gerald was always the pack leader who was in control. I mentioned the book with the bloody fingerprints.
Yep.
Gerald made all of the members cut their hands and place a bloody fingerprint on paper to join the group.
Oh, I was thinking it was like because they had just murdered people and had blood on their hands.
No, it was like his initiation
A
notebook.
nice DNA book. Well, yeah, 90s, yeah, DNA.
Oh,
Yep.
and fingerprints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
They're
you.
like, we'll take that. Thank you very much. Richard Vieira gave specifics of how he was treated from the start. Gerald would tell Richard how he could act, when he could go to bed, and what he could do when he was awake. Gerald was in charge of everyone, but it seems like Richard took the brunt of the abuse. I'm talking about Richard Vieira here. There's also a Richard Willie.
And
Is that his name?
also
Yes.
the Richard that was murdered, right?
Yeah, that was Richard Ritchie.
Yes, that one I remember.
There's a lot of dicks in this story. A little comedic relief.
Yeah. Okay. I'm following, and it's also from some of our. I guess. Am I thinking of the camps? Not the camps in this story, but the wilderness camps, and
right.
also Colleen Stan, where it's like how you get people to like
Stay.
believe you and stay and like manipulate and yeah, it's all very creepy.
I don't know why. I mean, it really is that manipulation tactic because I just can't imagine why somebody like this would stay. But yeah,
He
not.
must have read the same magazine.
Yeah, there's something about cults. I feel like there might be a little psychology behind it as to why people stay and join them.
We should write a book about that.
We should do a podcast on it.
Maybe.
Read a book to do a podcast and then write a book. Anyways. So David would also give orders to Richard. If he acted unexpectedly, David would physically assault him by slapping him or punching him in the stomach. So David kind of joined in with Gerald to treat Richard like shit.
Okay.
And Gerald would also get in on the abuse of Richard and make him stand still and quote unquote take it while he punched him as hard as he could in the stomach. Gerald had actually done this to another member of the cause, and as well as causing injuries, he sent the guy to the hospital.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Gerald had also used the stun gun on Richard that he used on Jennifer. The members of the cause had to keep diaries so that Gerald knew everything about them to better control them.
Oh my God.
And Gerald had something called a wheel of punishment. If he felt someone had done something wrong, that person would have to throw the wheel up and catch it. So it was like a flat board with like a wheel shape, and they would throw it up and catch it. And wherever their thumb landed, that was their punishment.
Oh my God. Why wouldn't you just have a regular one? Why do you have to throw it?
They didn't have the setup or the
Right?
hardware. This was
Jeez.
just, cardboard. Some of the punishments on the wheel included things like withholding food, withholding clothing, making them sleep on the floor, like hard concrete floor without a mattress. But it also went into very abusive punishments like being sodomized by Gerald or having to perform oral sex on him.
God.
Gerald really must have had some emotional control on these people for them to put up with that shit.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a cult. And I mean, it really is insane because to any sane person outside of that, you're like, what the fuck? Why would you be here? But they just, they're there.
And it also attracts a certain type of person.
That's true.
So they're like, we're not that type of person.
A lost person that needs to be found.
Although I did get sucked into some MLMs,
which
which are almost
you actually
cults.
would end up in a cult. Yeah.
My mother-in-law would be doing the fishing. She goes, she throws out the hook and then she reels me in and she thinks it's hilarious.
Effective though.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so how did all of this lead to a quadruple murder, you might ask?
Yeah.
In January 1990, Franklin, who was about 50 years old at the time, moved his trailer into the camp.
Of course.
There was room for him.
And that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, the property was condemned.
Okay.
No. Things might have started out fine, but Franklin did not have a good relationship with the group, and the feeling was mutual. Franklin apparently used and sold drugs from the camp property and even stole one of Gerald's guns, which... That is
ballsy.
I would not steal from a guy like that, but that's just me.
Did Franklin know everything that was going on, like that it was a cult and that it was that fucking crazy?
Yes, because he didn't like the brutality of it and
he
didn't
still
want to
stole a gun.
Yeah, not smart.
Crazy.
I
Okay.
mean, look where it got him.
That's
so
true.
not good. Gerald told others that he wanted to get his hands on Franklin.
Yikes.
Is
Not
what
you
he
want to
said.
hear.
No.
Not what you want to hear.
No. So Franklin didn't like the brutality of the
Right.
cause and everything that was going on. And Gerald didn't like Franklin's drug use.
Yep.
Which it's surprising to me if Franklin was the only one using drugs. You would think that that would be a more common thread among these individuals. But
Yes and no, because if Gerald is exercising that much control on them, I
Oh,
could
yeah,
see
he
that
wouldn't
like
wanna lose
drugs,
control.
Exactly. So
probably just a lot of beer and cigarettes.
Yep, exactly.
She tasted like cigarettes. Franklin moved to Elm Street for a while to get away from the group. And even though Gerald didn't like Franklin, he wasn't happy when he left because Gerald couldn't control him.
Yep.
6 weeks before the murders, a child was seen playing with a discarded syringe near Franklin's trailer, which pissed off Gerald.
Okay.
Gerald, David, and Jason hooked up Franklin's trailer and car, dropped them off at the Elm Street property. The men moved the car on the side of the road in front of the house and lit it on fire.
Is this the same car
Yes.
on fire that you told me about earlier?
Yes,
Okay.
this is the one that the daughter told the
Yes.
police about, that,
Okay.
or the son, because he was afraid of Jason.
Yep.
Because Jason threatened to kill him and lit his car on fire.
Less random than I thought it was.
Yeah, no, it's not
Yeah,
random.
no,
There's a
okay.
connection there.
Yep.
But I didn't want to, it
No, I
fit
get
better
it.
into
It's
the
fair.
story over here.
Yeah.
So I just did a little boop over in the beginning.
Dropped a breadcrumb. I got it.
I
I
did.
nibbled it.
In April 1990, a few weeks before the murders, Tanya, Michelle's half-sister, received a 30-day eviction notice from the landlord for 5223 Elm Street. So it was like a bunch of people living in this one property.
Yep. Seems to be the theme.
Yeah. Well, it's California again.
True.
Right.
Right.
People
Yeah.
can't.
You're
people
right.
Can't
You're
afford
so right.
things by
That's
themselves.
the real problem. That's the real perpetrator in this. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Hashtag America. She left her furniture in the house and moved in with her grandmother. Shortly before the murder, she received a 3-day notice, which made her anxious to move her furniture, at which point she asked for her sister's help. On Friday night, May 18th, 1990, Michelle, Gerald, David, Jason, and both Richards went to 5223 Elm Street to move out Tanya's furniture. You got, there's a quiz later.
I am going to fail.
Okay.
I got Gerald.
Yep.
And I'm just going to guess Rich for all the other ones.
Yeah, there's 2 Richards. Yep. Gerald brought a 12-pack of beer and shared it with everyone in the house, including the victims Dennis, Richard Ritchie, again, so many Richards, Franklin, and Emmy. Everyone was cordial for a while, but then Jason and Franklin began speaking and they got into a fist fight. And then David and Richard Willie started wrestling with Richard Vieira.
Chaos.
After 45 minutes, everyone who didn't belong in the house returned to the camp, having moved 0 furniture.
I would be so annoyed.
Correct.
I'd be like, so you just fought with everybody
And
probably
nothing got
broke
done.
a bunch of shit and just left. Yeah.
And nothing got done. And for some reason, Dennis Colwell visited the camp that same night, and then he was beaten before being allowed to leave.
Weird. And he's one of the victims, right?
He is.
Weird.
He is. And in the documentary I read, I didn't write this down because I couldn't corroborate it with the rest of the information, but I did, I think it was in the documentary. They said that the people that were living in Elm Street, the Elm Street property, had all been at the camp before, and that Franklin had gotten them to leave.
I believe that in some way. Like,
Yeah,
it seems they all kind
They're
of
sort of like transient, and they all know each other.
Yeah.
Everything came to a head, and Gerald must have decided that Franklin was the root cause of these problems and that he had to die. 2 days later, around 6 p.m. on May 20th, 1990, Gerald gathered David, Richard Vieira, Richard Willie, Michelle, and Jason in his trailer. All of them except Michelle and Jason were decked out in camouflage. Gerald gave them all assignments to carry out the murder of Franklin and the other people that were in the Elm Street house.
So they were just like byproducts.
Wrong
of-
place.
Yeah.
Yep, wrong place, wrong time.
And Franklin was the one that had the worst injury. He had like the disformed face and all. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yep. Gerald told the group, go do them all and leave no witnesses.
Oh, okay.
He gave them times to enter the house and where. He had Michelle Evans, whose sister lived there, had her draw up a map of the property.
Oh, geez.
And the plan was for Michelle to go into the house through the front door, which they expected she'd be able to because her half sister lived there. And then she was supposed to go to the back bedroom window and open it for David and Richard Vieira. And Gerald told them if anyone didn't do their job right, they would join the people in the house. Gerald instructed them that they couldn't use handguns because it would be too noisy. And then Gerald told Michelle to make sure Tanya didn't go home tonight, which is why Tanya was lucky that she wasn't there. But luck had nothing to do with it.
Yep.
And she may have been there earlier, but she was not part of this. Yes, she vacated the premises. Around midnight, this group drove to Elm Street. Michelle and Jason were dropped off at the house, and the others parked the car. Michelle was let into the house as expected and went to open the back window. David and Richard entered the house through the window, and around the same time, someone flipped the breakers, the lights went off, and they all stormed in, catching them all off guard. David and Richard ran into the living room, and Michelle could hear Emmy screaming, oh God, I didn't do it." She was screaming and pleading for her life. So Gerald told Richard Vieira to shut her up. He grabbed Emmy by her hair and started sawing through her neck until he hit bone.
Oh my God.
Michelle left the house and went to the car, passing Richard Willie, who was sitting on the back of Richard Ritchie, who was face down in the street. When the men all returned to the car, they were covered in blood.
I bet.
Jason was concerned that Franklin wasn't dead, but David said, "He's dead. I saw his face crumble as I was walking out the door."
Christ.
David made a comment that it was a waste that they only got 3 dudes and a chick, hoping there were more people at the house that night.
Insane.
Richard said that someone saw them kill. Richard said somebody saw him kill Richard in the front yard. Again, so many Richards. But this pissed off Gerald because he'd ordered that they leave no witnesses.
Right.
Richard Vieira threw the knife, one of the bats, and a baton out the window, but Gerald told Jason to keep his bloody bat.
Weird.
For some reason.
Yeah.
The group went to Richard Willie's house to clean up, and they hid the remaining masks and weapons under Richard Willie's house. Michelle asked Jason what it was like in the house, and he told her, quote, "Missy, it was the worst thing you ever want to see." Jason said that Franklin had raised his arm to protect himself, and Jason came down on his arm with the bat, and that's when his arm broke.
So I think we are underselling how broken it was.
Very broken. Yeah. He also hit the 3 others with the bat when they were trying to escape. Jason had fled out a window because, quote, "all hell had broken loose and these guys were in there doing some serious shit."
See, that's where it just felt so chaotic. And like, maybe not panicked. It doesn't sound actually like panic, but it was just like a frenzy. Like, just chaotic. Like, awful.
But when you just said frenzy, it's almost like they got in there and they were enjoying it. So they went crazy.
That's what I mean. I think they were. I think there was probably this frantic energy, and I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, me as well. Michelle was shaken by this whole ordeal, which is probably why she flipped so easily.
Yep.
She was like, well, this got out of hand.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she
like, you knew they were going to murder people. So.
I know. And she did say that, like, when Gerald said, do them all, like, she took that to mean kill everybody, leave no witnesses.
Including her half-sister, right?
Well, he told her,
wasn't home.
Yeah, he told her to make sure she wasn't home. So I don't know if they didn't think he would actually go through with it, but that would also be a dumb thing to think with his background and history. Yeah. So, fuck them all.
Yeah. But there is a difference between, like, they've probably talked about murdering people in the past. So,
yeah.
And maybe this is the first time it fully went through. So,
maybe there's also a cemetery on that half acre.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
So the police had their case, and the group, who was already in custody, they were charged with the quadruple murders.
Wow.
There are pictures of the whole group in court standing behind a table. And apparently while they were in court, they were laughing and joking, thinking that they were going to beat the charges and just go home, which just angered and disgusted the victims' family members.
Oh, those poor people.
Emmy's mother attended all of the court proceedings. She said that she had to cover all of her daughter's defensive wounds for the funeral. And she knew that some were claiming that Gerald brainwashed them, but she said she had no sympathy for them because none of them showed an ounce of mercy for Emmy or the others in the house.
Yeah. Yep.
The original complaint charged all 6 perpetrators, but the cases of Richard Vieira and Michelle Evans were severed. So the plan was to try them all together, but then they severed Michelle and Richard Vieira, so that left the other 4.
Okay.
And in exchange for her testimony against the 4 remaining, so that's Gerald, David, Jason, and Richard Willie, Michelle Evans pleaded guilty as an accessory to murder. She was sentenced to 1 year in prison, and she served about 6 months after good conduct and work credit.
My jaw is on the floor. While I was okay with her pleading out to do the statements or whatever to be a witness, a year?
She served 6 months.
What?
She served 6 months.
God.
And they had so much good evidence on these people. So I just left.
Jeez.
This is the justice system for you. So the 4 men were tried together. The jury couldn't reach a verdict as to Jason and Richard Willie. But Gerald and David were both convicted of 4 counts of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder and were independently sentenced to death. The appeals were automatic, and the California Supreme Court overturned the death sentence on both of their conspiracy charges, but affirmed the other counts. So they were to be resentenced to 25 years to life for the conspiracy charge, but they affirmed the death sentences.
So it's a moot point.
Correct. Richard Vieira proceeded to a jury trial and was convicted of 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to death on 3 of the murders and the conspiracy charge, and life in prison without the possibility of parole for Richard Ritchie's murder.
Okay.
Because of the death sentence, his appeal was also automatic, and they reversed the death sentence on the conspiracy charge. 25 years to life for that one, but they affirmed the other death sentences. As of 2020, Richard had an appeal pending before the United States Supreme Court for a question of law. And has also pursued additional appellate avenues, including a habeas corpus appeal. He's hoping to gain leniency, arguing that he was brainwashed into participating. So I say a question of law where his appeal to the United States Supreme Court is not whether or not he did it. The actual question before the court is whether the California Supreme Court may summarily deny discretionary review of an intermediate appellate court's dismissal of an appeal on timeliness grounds.
I think I actually followed most of that.
Yeah, that is a procedural issue that is before the court.
I mean, what else are you going to do? Of course you're going to do that
and he has
an appeal.
Nothing, and he has nothing better to do. So, I mean, Richard got the brunt of all of it, I guess, if anyone was going to get the I was under his control because he beat me into submission, but I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And both Jason and Richard Willie were later convicted of 4 counts of second-degree murder and were each sentenced to 64 years to life in prison. And I was thinking about that, and I think it's because, if I had to guess, neither of them had a knife. I know Jason only had a bat. And I know he broke Franklin's arm, and I know he was swinging at the other people, but I'm guessing that without... I mean, it could be a deadly weapon, but he fled after hitting them with the bats. So I think that took it out of the first degree.
I mean, as long as he's in jail, that's not the justice. Probably.
64 years to life is a pretty, that's a solid sentence. Yeah.
I wouldn't want it.
What a fucking nightmare on Elm Street.
Wow. The only thing that makes me okay with walking out to my car after this is that was a very involved and not random.
It was not random, at all.
Except for the poor woman. Well, she didn't die, but the poor woman who, was it the woman who stayed the one night?
Oh, she did not die.
Right.
No,
she was lucky and unlucky.
I'm sure she's traumatized.
Oh, for sure. But that was the only one that was actually probably more random.
That was wrong place, wrong time.
But everything else was just a series of unfortunate events.
It was.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had never heard of this case, so
neither had I. So that's listen. Go watch Investigation Discoveries: The Real Nightmares on Elm Street, and they actually did them leading up to Halloween, so it was kind of cool. Nice. I recommend that.
I shall.
Our Gremlins, especially on our Discord, they talk about so many documentaries, and I'm like, I wish I had more time to just watch murder. If I wasn't researching murder and recording murder, I could watch murder. Yes. And I just, it's a lot of murder
so much murder.
I just can't get it all in my schedule.
It reminds me of when your husband was like, aren't you guys going to run out of cases to do? We were like, well, no.
I'm like, we could do one every 20 minutes and not run out of cases.
Because people keep doing them.
They do.
Yeah.
People keep murdering, and also, time goes back pretty far.
Deep. And I'm there for the 1800s.
I know, with the history of electricity.
My next case is in the 70s, which is my other favorite. Maybe my actual favorite.
Okay.
And I say favorite tongue in cheek, like, I mean, but it is my favorite. It was just the Wild Wild West back in
It
the
was
70s.
because they didn't have technology.
Exactly.
And,
No technology whatsoever.
No. That's why it's like the more futuristic murders we talk about is like the Fitbit murder or like, Fotis Dulos who got caught on all of the Ring cameras. Like that's not like what Ted Bundy was out there doing.
No.
They were sending faxes of his Etch-a-Sketch face.
Oh, there's a new Zodiac documentary that I want to, it's like The Voice of Zodiac or something like that I want to watch, but I'm a little afraid that's another book that I have
that's going to be 3 parts.
Yeah, I'm not, I gotta chill out on the multi-parters. My next case is 1 part.
Okay.
Don't worry. It is only 1 episode.
Okay.
I say that because I have a lot of pages so far, but it's only 1.
I'm pre-disappointed.
Yeah, you should be.
Okay. If you're enjoying listening to Grimm, please rate and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts to make sure you don't miss any episodes. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, make our day by leaving us a written review. You can find our page on Facebook by searching Grimm: a true crime podcast. If you want to subscribe to our Patreon, you can go to Patreon and search Grimm: a true crime podcast. If subscriptions aren't your thing, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/grimcrimepodcast.
And Marina needs Celsius now.
I was going to say it should actually be called buymeacelsius.com. If you donate $5 or more, we will send the first 200 donors a 4-inch Grimm die-cut sticker, which is pretty sweet. Just a quick anecdote, right? In breaking this up for people who have lasted this long. Laura turned me on to Celsius, and now there are some mornings that I get to go into work early. So basically I have something called Early Bird, which is caffeine. And then I drink my Celsius, and then I start a video to Laura at like 6:15 in the morning, and I'm like, good morning, hello,
and I'm ready. I'm there. It's well, and we don't sponsor. We are not sponsored by Marco Polo, but we'll give that's the great app we use. So shout out to my college roommate who is the one that got me onto it because she lives in a different state and I don't see her. But it's basically like an asynchronous FaceTime is how I would describe it. And now Marina and I see each other most days and text basically all day, and then do recordings and then do lots of things. And we thought, and we send memes on Instagram, and we thought we needed yet another platform to talk about. So it's great, and that's what she's referring to because we keep each other company in our morning commute safely.
And now we work in the same company. So this morning, Laura was sending me a video, and I almost jumped out in front of her car so she could see me in person. And she's talking to me on the phone. Anyways,
just to be clear, hands are on the wheel. I have a little phone stand. I'm not looking at it. I'm just to be clear, we are safe around here.
It could just be we could just send voice memos back and forth, but we don't because we use the app platform.
We have a problem.
We do. Anyways, our husbands don't understand. They don't get it.
It's for them that we do this, though.
Yes, correct. Okay, so back to our regularly scheduled program. If you stuck in with us, that's a fun little fact for you. Follow us on Instagram at Grim Crime Podcast for information on future episodes and case photos. If you want to send us a case suggestion or just say hi, you can email us at grimcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Listen, learn, and stay alive until next time because the future is grim.